Herzlich willkommen, liebe Hockeytrainerinnen und Hockeytrainer in Deutschland, zu einer neuen Folge von dem mit Abstand besten Training. Wir sind, wenn wir das hier gerade live aufzeichnen, ein paar Tage vor der Entscheidung am 16. November, ob wir hoffentlich alle wieder mit unseren Spielerinnen und Spielern auf den Platz dürfen. Und damit, auch wenn das nicht funktionieren sollte, ihr ein bisschen Input bekommt, habe ich mir heute einen ganz besonderen Gast eingeladen. Er wird uns einen Einblick geben in seine Hockeyphilosophie. Und es ist ein bisschen so, als Pep Guardiola in die Fußball-Bundesliga kam und eine ganz neue Philosophie auch in den deutschen Fußball gebracht hat. So ist es auch mit meinem Gast heute, Andreu Enrich. We will speak in English today, dear colleagues, because Andreu is very good at English. And I have to train my English as well. So I have a very special guest today with Andreu. He is a hockey coach with a lot of experience from very different hockey cultural backgrounds. And today we will talk a little bit about his personal hockey philosophy, and he will give an insight on how he tries to convey his personal philosophy into the pitch and into the teams that he's coaching. He is currently the new coach of the Mannheimer Hockey Club Herren. And since that has been already very successful during the season, I welcome you, Andreu, to this interview. And how are you today in those special times?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, Valentin. It's a pleasure to be part of this. Of course, now it's we are in the break after the first round, and the situation, it is far different from the situation we had previously during the first lockdown. In that moment, I was in Spain, and that was very hard, as you can imagine. For 2 months and a half, I was locked down at home. So now the situation is different. We just gave some free days to the guys to disconnect a little bit from the first round, and I think in 24th of November we start again with the trainings. That's the plan.
All right. And since we also live in special times, as you just mentioned, as hockey coaches, so what will you take out of those experiences from Corona into a hopefully coming up new normality?
Yeah, in my case, in my personal case, during this period, it was when I actually studied the most. I mean, I've been studying a lot. I've been reading a lot, trying to develop myself a lot. For example, together with Max Callas, we have created a group with professional football coaches and ourselves, and we were meeting almost every week during the lockdown and exchanging information about football tactics, hockey tactics, training methodologies, and of course we had also different Zooms and meetings, and it's been a very productive period from an education point of view. And also in my case, I used this period to write 2 books actually, which is a lot as well, 2 hockey books. Yeah.
Yeah, I will mention the hockey books later in this interview because I learned a lot from them. And since we have a little tradition in those interviews to share some literature recommendations, you have some for us, and I will have your books for the hockey community in Germany. This is also a good point because I was wondering, you have been experiencing German hockey with the German Hockey Liga for the last couple of months. You have seen different styles of hockey. You have seen different leagues in different countries. What would you say is a special thing? Maybe what is the thing that attracted you the most about the German Hockey Liga?
I mean, yeah, my opinion is just after 3 months of competition. Okay, so compared to Belgium, Netherlands, and Spain, I would say that the biggest difference is the knowledge, the tactical knowledge, and the tactical background that every single team, coaches, and players have in defense. Okay, for me that was astonishing. I mean, every single team in the Bundesliga combines 2 or 3 different defensive systems, which is something that I've never experienced before. Not even in Belgium league. If you play in Belgium league against the best team in the league, they always play the same defensive system with very small, tiny variations. But here, it's more rich, and also the players, the capacity of the players to read the situations in defense, to understand where do they have to block, what run, what pressing run, etc. This is something that I was very surprised with that. On the other hand, in my opinion, the attacking phase, from my point of view, it's not as developed as other countries. And basically, this is our story as a team. We try to, of course, we try to improve and we try to change something in the defensive part, but the biggest change has been in the attacking phase. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting competition, very tight. I think more than Belgium league, of course, more than the Spanish league, and still even though the Dutch league is quite complicated as well. You have 6, 7, 8 teams with a pretty good level. Here it's difficult. It's difficult because even the teams that they don't have the individual quality of their players high, they're able to play a consistent game from a tactical point of view. So the games are really close, and it's not that in Netherlands the games become open and up and downs, and then at the end the individual qualities, it's not that clear. But for a coach, it's great.
So how have you been welcomed to the Hockey League also by your colleagues?
Yeah, good. I'm happy about that. We had a lot of good games, and the relation with the other coaches is and has been really good. No fights from the bench so far. No, really good and really exciting because every game it's a kind of chess game at some point, and that makes it really interesting. So yeah, I'm very happy to be part of that.
Great. So with you, the German Hockey Liga not only has a new coach, it also has a coach that has a very concrete philosophy. You were just already mentioning some aspects that you figure out you want to change with your team, also concerning the attacking phase of the game. Maybe you can give us a little insight and put your philosophy in words for us.
Yeah, I'm coming from. I guess it's coming from my background as well. I'm coming from Athletic Terrassa and from Barcelona as well, and that's important because of course the connection that we have in Terrassa, Barcelona with football, in this case FC Barcelona, is very strong as well. Very strong. There are a lot of connections between hockey teams nearby Barcelona and FC Barcelona as a club in terms of ideology, game ideology. Athletic Terrassa was one of these examples of teams that since the last 20-25 years, they always try to play, let's say, a kind of positional game in the attacking. And this is something that it's running through my veins. So, of course, if you see the way we play, and if I tell you my philosophy of playing, it's very related to positional play. And by positional play, it means that the progression, it has to be done in group. We have to progress all together on the field. We have to use, of course, the short passing as a default mechanism to progress. And also, for example, we have to use the width. We need the permanent use of the width of the field, in a high height of the field. We need to use the width. And at the same time, we need to constantly thread the depth. This is very typical from positional play, actually. And this is very different from what, at least in Mannheim, the guys were used to. And the guys were used to, for example, to use the depth as well, instead of threading the depth, which is something different. And they were used to use the width, but in a very low height. And we are using the width in a higher height. Of course, part of, yeah.
One question, sorry to interrupt. You're saying, I understand you're saying using the depth and threatening it is a different thing. Can you clarify for me?
Yeah, normally in hockey, as coaches, because there's no offside, we tend to think that placing players really deep, it is something that it goes in favor of our game. Okay, so when we build up from the back, we tend to say that we have to use all the depth. Okay, we need to make the field bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a kind of, in my opinion, that's a kind of a fallacy. It's something that it seems to be reasonable, but at the end, to me, it's not that clear.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of that, sometimes what we do is that we try to reduce the depth by standing closer and then using this empty space to attack. That's a change in the paradigm. And of course, in football, you have this situation all the time, but you have this situation because of the offside, right? But even in hockey, this is something that instead of being the defender, the one that forces this situation because of the offside, it's you as an attacker that you pose this question to the defender team. You know, if they want to follow you, they are going to create an empty space at the back. If they don't follow you, you are going to have players to play superiority. So that's a kind of thing that in positional play philosophy, it's very clear, but in hockey, that's not been the case.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I mean by threatening the depth. I mean, we always need to threat, but not standing there from the beginning. And that's let's say the most radical change in the way we stand. And then the last point in positional play is the press after loss. If we are able to progress together on the field, then we will always find context where with a high density of players that will allow us to press after loss in the defensive transition. And this is something that we've been doing pretty good, actually. Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. So I understand the principle is it's easier to threaten the depth by not using it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's easy. Yeah, it's not easier, but it creates more danger to the opponent, in my opinion, to threat the depth instead of standing there from the beginning. That's a different change. That's a different change.
Okay, so we see here that Andreu not only has a philosophy, has also very detailed understandings of how to bring that into a team and on the pitch. And since our coaches want to really learn as concrete as possible, could you share some of the training methods that you use in order to do this? Because it sounds easy when you say it, but it's oftentimes not as easy to transport into the pitch. What do you do in order to change those positional game concepts?
Yes, the first thing is what I think it's good to use, but this is not because of this particular philosophy of game. I think for every philosophy of game in hockey, the best training tool that you have is the game itself. We like to say that the game is the best coach. And therefore, if we understand that hockey is a complex activity, a non-linear activity, we have to practice this activity in a complex environment as well. So by playing, this is what I mean. It sounds very simple, but that's the most effective way to do it. And then, of course, using these games, small-sided games, but also normal games, also games with 13 against 13, it doesn't matter. But you, in my opinion, you as a coach, you have to respect the internal logic of the game in every single training task that you pose. And this internal logic is that you need teammates, you need cooperative behaviors, you need opposition, you need a goal, directionality, and these kind of things you cannot change. If you change these things, you are diminishing the effectiveness of your training task. And that goes against your growth. I'm not saying that this is bad, but it's just not as effective as if you work with games. So, of course, and one of the books I've written is a small-sided game. So yes, I'm a very big fan of this methodology, and I want to share with you a couple of examples.
Great.
of different small-sided games that we've been using with the team this season. Okay, so yeah, for example, this is a small-sided game where, as you can see here, we are playing 5 against 5.
Mhm.
We are playing without goals. Okay, there are no goals, but there are circles. Okay, and inside every circle there is a small circle, we call it the 7-meter circle, that is marked with yellow stripes. The goal of this drill, the goal of this game, is to, of course, you have to try to score a goal, and you score a goal by placing a ball inside the 7 meters circle. But also the other goal of this game is to locate the possession in opposite half. So I was here as a coach, as you can see, and I was having a clock, special clock that I have that allows me to count the possession, both possessions, right? So every time the ball was in the opposite half, I was counting. And at the end, of course, the teams with more possession, with more location of the ball in opposite half, they were gaining points as well, besides of scoring. Why do we do this game? We do this game because what we want to achieve with that is that when the guys are in opposite half, they are not pushing the attack. They are patient, and they know that by having the ball location in opposite half, they help the team, and they really make things complicated for the opponent. Also, if we do this, we make sure that the guys, they progress together and they stand together. And also by doing that, we make sure that there's an incentive for the team that after losing the ball, they press after loss. Because if the ball is in opposite half, it's good for them. So this is one example of that. That it goes with the principles of our game idea, game style, as you can see.
Yeah.
So, for example, we've seen, this is another game that it's slightly different now, because here we have a situation where we have from the beginning a 6v6 in one side of the field and another 6v6 in the other side of the field. As you can see, there is one circle with 2 goals and just 1 goalkeeper. So here in this game, for the goalkeepers, it's funny because they have to defend both goals, okay? Depending on the action, they have to choose which goal to cover and which goal to leave free. But the funny thing for the players is that once we start, the players, they have the freedom to switch from side to side. They have the freedom to join the other side. And that, of course, creates a very chaotic and variable situation of numerical superiority, numerical inferiority. And we do this game when we want to really empower the proactive behavior of the players, when we want to empower the scanning, when we want to amplify the perception of the players and the decision making, when we want that they realize when they can make a difference in the game, when they can be beneficial for its team, and then of course allowing them to switch, to change from side to side.
Great. Let me quickly translate some of the hockey vocabulary that you used into the German, because
yes,
it's very important to understand the goal that you have with this game. Also ganz kurz auf Deutsch, weil das wirklich, glaube ich, eine ganz tolle Spielform sein kann, wenn sie sowohl chaotisch ist, als auch klare Ziele verfolgt. Andreu hat gesagt, dass hier bei diesen 2x6 gegen 6, wo die Spieler immer die Seite auch wechseln dürfen, ein großes Ziel ist, dass die Spieler erkennen lernen, wo kann ich eigentlich den größten Unterschied machen. Und dadurch entstehen immer wieder auf natürliche Art und Weise durch die Entscheidungen der Spieler eine Überzahl, das ist die Numerical Superiority, oder eben dann in der logischen Konsequenz auch eine Unterzahl. sodass eben hier ganz viele der Prinzipien, über die Andreu schon gesprochen hat, auch zum Tragen kommen. Und nämlich immer wieder die Frage, wie kann ich eigentlich Räume bedrohen und wie kann ich eigentlich cooperative, also gemeinsam den Raum am besten bespielen. Finde ich eine ganz starke Übung, nur noch mal so ein bisschen zum Klarmachen der Hockey-Vokabeln. Ich weiß, die meisten von euch haben es verstanden. Vielleicht war es auch umsonst. Andreu, you can go on.
Yes, good. So, oh, sorry. So, for example, to see another example, we have many. Basically, we are just playing games in our training sessions, like more than 95% of the time. So, as you can imagine, we have a lot.
So one quick question for our German coaches. So, just to make it sure, if the training session starts, it sometimes or most of the time actually starts with a game. Is that the way you do it?
It's not only that we start with a game, it's that we only play games. That's the point.
All right. So even
we only play games
from the beginning. Because
yes,
it's very German to start with some warm-up things that are very basic and drill-like, and that you then have at the end have some minutes for a game if the guys are lucky. But you say basically games is what I practice.
Yes, only games. I mean, we start when we start the session, the guys, they spend 2 minutes passing the ball to each other, and we are waiting for the goalies basically, and then when the goalies are ready, we stop, and then we divide a group, and maybe we play 2 different small set of games in small groups, and then we go together and we play a different small set of game all together. But then, of course, it depends on the day of the week you are, that you change the type of small set of games you play in terms of physical conditioning demands and in terms of cognitive demands as well. Sometimes we play with a really clear focus, tactical focus. Sometimes we just play more like with less focus, so we don't stress the player, but we always use the game as a teacher, as a vehicle of our growth. I think we only play one drill once in that's it. So we just play games.
So it's very interesting. Do you have another one of those?
Yes, we have. So for example, sorry, because here I have the clips, but okay. So here I was at the beginning of the session explaining, we are going to see a game that it seems to be a normal game in this half of the field with 2 teams of 5 and 1 joker in blue. Okay, yes. So 5 yellow, 5 red, and 1 joker. But the thing in this game is that we are playing with the offside rule. Okay, we are playing with offside rule, like the football rule, exactly the same rule. And here you can see the defenders, and you can see how the striker is not going there. The striker is just waiting here, and then is waiting for this kind of movements and receiving and then attacking the space. You see that?
I see that.
So this is a small set of game that, of course, it's related to our game idea. That's why we do it. For someone else, for another coach that believes that depth must be always occupied, that makes no sense. So we did that as well. And for example, just as the last example, this is like the most realistic one. This is what we call fractals. It's called fractals in football. They call it fractals as well. In fractals, what you do is that you take apart a small piece of your game, and then you try to play in that particular context. So for example, here at the back, we have our 3 center backs, and then we have midfielders on one side with opponents, and then we have the 2 deep players, in this case inside the circle, because we are in opposite half. That's the different context. We play on the left side, and after playing on the left side, we play another ball, and then we use the players on the right hand side. Okay, so it's here now it's a game in the sense that we are attacking on the left flank, and we have midfielders, we have the width, and we have the 2 players deep. and we try to play this situation. But once this situation is over, then we start again, and now we play on the right hand side. Okay, so this is a fractal. It's not a game in the sense that, for example, when defenders regain the ball, it's not that they have another goal where they can go and score. It's a little bit more simplistic. But on the other hand, it's really similar to the game context that they are going to face on Sunday. And that's why sometimes we practice also with these fractals. So here you can see the situation on the right side, okay? But still, it's with opposition, with the normal numbers of players involved in that context. So it's not that we say, okay, it's just a 2-on-2 on the right side. No, it's not like that. So yeah, these were some examples. Of course, I could be here for 3 hours, but this is a little bit the philosophy of the trainings that we are using the small-sided game as a main tool for that.
Great, thank you very much. In your book, I read about provocation rules. Maybe
yes.
you can give us a little bit of an understanding what is a provocation rule and why do you use those?
Yeah, that's very important, and that's related to the philosophy of the small-sided game, right? So what we want to achieve with coaches in training is that certain behaviors of the players, certain types of interaction between them are taking place often. And by taking place often, they can get used to that. They can understand how to identify these environments when they perceive the context. This is what we want to achieve. We don't want to say you do A, B, C. It's not like that. What we want is to develop the intelligence of the players in the sense that when they are playing, they recognize themselves and they recognize different contexts, and then they act according to certain behaviors that we agree that are the ones to exploit. So when you design a small-sided game, you have to make sure that these particular behaviors that you want to see, that you want to offer as experience for them, are appearing often, are taking place often. These contexts are taking place often. They find, and these contexts are inviting the player to make the proper decision. For that kind of intelligent design, we use provocation rules. We design the game in a sense that we make sure that this is going to happen. What are the resources that we can use? So for example, we can use the number of players. Depending on the number of players and depending if you are playing in an even situation or there's a joker or there's an asymmetry, you are going to achieve certain behaviors. For example, you want to enhance the mindset of Raum in defense. So, okay, you can play with one man down because then the team in one man down has no incentive to play man because it's impossible, right? So this is one stupid example, okay? What you can do also is you can try to vary the size and the shape of the field. It's not the same to play 5 against 5 in 1/4 of the field and play 5 against 5 in half of the field. So depending on the size and shape and therefore number of players and therefore density, you can achieve different behaviors depending on if you have a high density or low density of players. But you can also have different zones where different rules apply. You can also have different goals. You can score here or you can score there. If you score here, it counts 1 point. If you score there, it counts 2 points. You can also have, for example, one thing that I like to do as well. When you score a goal, you get as many points as passes you had in the last possession. So with this rule, simple rule, you try to create an incentive for the players to have a long possession. You give value to the possession. So therefore, they will naturally have patience in the way they attack, because they know that the more patience, more passes will take place. And then if they score a goal, they will get more points. So this is a provocation rule. It's something that it's not that you tell the players, you guys be patient when you have the ball. No, you tell the players this is the game. And once they know the game, they will naturally think what's the best strategy to win. And by adopting this strategy to win, they will naturally play the style of play that you want, and they will adopt the behaviors that you wanted them to adopt. But it's a different approach. It's not that the coach is telling you have to do this, it's the game that is telling them what to do, what is the affordance, what is the opportunity, the right opportunity to exploit. And this is what we try to achieve with the small-sided games. It's the player discover themselves, and they get in touch with these experiences, and they learn from the game. So that's very important. The design of the game is very important. It's not, okay, Andreu, you say that they have to play games, so we always play 5 against 5, 3 against 3. No, you as a coach, you have to imagine what kind of actions and interactions will take place with this particular design. And then if you see it according to our tactical objective, then you can do it. If not, not. That makes no sense.
So now I will test myself if I got it right. If I want to achieve that my players don't use the depth by standing there, but threatening it by leaving it free at the first place, I design an offside rule, as you just pointed out before. And by designing the game like this and having a provocation rule that says there is an offside, I create the incentive to play the way I want as a coach. Is that what you're saying? Did I get it right?
Yes. This is one option that you have, but there are infinite options. You can say every time we penetrate the circle in ball possession, you get a goal instead of receiving inside. So if you create this rule, the players will think, okay, so by standing inside the circle, I reduce opportunities, opportunities of penetrating the circle with ball possession. So maybe they reach the point where they say, okay, maybe it's better to stand on the width or lower and create a gap where the circle is and then penetrate the circle. And then probably they achieve the same behaviors that we wanted, but with a completely different turn and different provocation rule. And this is the big value of the coach, the capacity to really find a proper design of a game where you can achieve this tactical behavior that you want to achieve. And it works for every single tactical thing. 1v1s, defending inside the circle, using the baseline, press after loss, counter attacks, it doesn't matter. But traditionally, when the coach is facing a problem in the game, for example, the 1v1s in defense are very bad, okay, let's play 1v1 defense. And that's a very big conceptual mistake, because a 1v1 defense without teammates, without other opponents, without passing line threat, it's a kind of behavior that it's very, very far from the real life. And therefore, if you take this 1v1 behavior completely isolated, then you are not helping the player. If you want the player to defend well a 1v1, you have to play a game where Mandekung is the rule, and where certain behaviors in these 1v1s, you will, for example, if there's one elimination in 1v1, you get punished and the other team gets 1 point. Okay, that's very stupid, right? But at least with this rule, when the players are in this 1v1 context, they will say, okay, no, I cannot be eliminated, because then it's a goal for the other team. It's the game that is teaching and inviting the players to find the proper solutions.
Andreu, thank you very much, because when you say Raum and Mandekung, it sounds very magic. I like that a lot. We have a little fine tradition in this interview series, which is recommending literature that helped you as a coach and that you would also like to recommend to others. before you maybe think of a book or a video or whatever kind of media it is that you would like to recommend to other coaches, I would want to recommend your books. I will do it quickly in German. Ich habe Andreu eigentlich so ein bisschen kennengelernt. Wir haben uns nämlich noch nie persönlich getroffen über das Lesen seiner beiden Bücher, die er bereits publiziert hat. Das eine Buch, was ganz auch im Sinne dieser Interviewserie ist, nämlich ganz konkret mit genauen Übungsbeispielen, heißt Small-Sided Games. Also es geht um kleine Spiele, ganz in dem Sinne, die wir eben auch gesehen haben. Und ist sehr zu empfehlen, weil es sehr konkret wird. Also auch sicherlich für dich mega gute Anregungen und vielleicht sogar auch konkrete Ideen, die sich übernehmen lassen. Und gleichzeitig aber auch ein Verständnis vermittelt, wie Andreu diese Spielform, wie er das nennt, designt. Also mit welchem Ziel er sie designt und wie er sie dann auch so entwickelt über diese sogenannten Provokationsregeln, dass sie das auch auf den Platz transportieren, was in seinem Kopf ist. Hochinteressant, Small-Sided Games. Das zweite Buch, und das haben wir heute in dem Interview auch gesehen, ist Hockey, a Philosophical Game. Also Andreu, der Hockey-Philosoph, hat wahnsinnig interessante Texte, auch gut zu lesen, geschrieben, die ja sicherlich für den einen oder anderen von euch Hockey-Verrückten auch eine super anregende Lektüre darstellen. Und Andreu wird gleich dazu noch was sagen. Für alle von euch, die für ihre Spieler ein Weihnachtsgeschenk suchen, wird Andreu in der nächsten Woche noch ein Buch veröffentlichen. Das heißt 50 Tipps von intelligenten Spielern. Also ein Buch von intelligenten Spielern für intelligente Spieler und vielleicht ein ganz cooles Weihnachtsgeschenk. Andreu, I just introduced your upcoming book. Maybe you can find a few words because you already told me and I thought it's a great Christmas gift. What is it about?
Yeah, this book is I wanted to really find a way to explain some of these principles and ideas to players, but because sometimes we are very, very deep and very philosophical with coaches, which is good. But also I wanted to transfer these ideas to players. And then I decided to create this book in a kind of 50 tips form, which is easy to read. And these 50 tips are for players. So if you're a player, of course, for coaches as well, but if you're a player and these are things that are practically useful for you when you are on the field, off the field also some of them, but on the field. So for example, when you are doing pre-scanning in the midfield, what you have to attend. It's not only about pre-scanning, it's what you have to try to perceive when you do the pre-scanning. What is the priority? Mm-hmm. And this is a kind of thing that you say as a coach, sometimes you say, okay, pre-scanning, yes, but what do you want me to perceive?
Yes.
Do you want me to perceive far or close, opponents or spaces, intervals? Or, I mean, this is something that if it's in a way of tip, okay, of course, this is my point of view, right? But I think it's the format is good and it's interesting. So I'm very proud of this book, actually. Yeah, it took 3-4 months to write it, but I'm very proud of the result. I hope that you like it if you read it.
I'm looking very much forward to it. Is there any other literature or media that you could recommend that helped you as a coach?
No, I mean, there's a lot of things. For me now, or in the last couple of years, the areas of knowledge that has been attracting me the most is, in one side, the theory of systems and complexity, and on the other hand, it's the motor skill acquisition and from the ecological approach. So that is related to ecological psychology and how we learn from the environment and how this kind of perceiving, decision making and action, this is actually something that it's not working like that, and it's a little bit different. So these kind of areas of knowledge, and I really invite everyone to look for an internet, to find books, publication, papers, videos about, on one side, theory of systems, complexity, nonlinear systems, dynamical systems, and on the other side, the ecological approach of skill acquisition, let's say. This is, I think it's where the game and the sport, the team sport is going to.
Also, liebe Leute, Systemtheorie und das ökologische Verständnis von Entscheidungsfindung legt Andreu uns ans Herz. Very interesting, absolutely indeed. Because it sounds like you are looking also outside the hockey pitch for knowledge that will again help you on the hockey pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much. The game is the best coach.
Yes.
That's what we learned today with a lot of other things from Andreu. So thank you very much for your time. And let's hope a little bit of your game approach will not only develop and improve the Mannheimer Hockey Club, but also whole Germany. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Andreu.
Ciao.